Welcome back to Teeny Bopper TV Breakdown. To anyone who engaged with the first recap post and decided to come back for more, thank you. Today, as expected, we'll be recapping the second episode of Breaker High, Pranks for the Memories. Right off the bat, I have to say, I'm a little bit scared of this one, just based off the title alone. A secondhand embarrassment and I do not get along very well, and getting there from pranks is a pretty direct through line. Alright, let's go. The very first line, from the blonde girl who we learn is named Cassidy, is 4 straight days at sea. I think I can see where the plot for this episode came from. After running out of other things to do while trapped on the boat, as Jimmy replies, what else is left but to prank each other? Plus, we may get to know the students better in their home environment without any external distractions. Let's see if I'm right. The first prank is pretty innocent. Student Activities Director Tony slipped a fake ice cube with the fly in the middle into Cassidy's drink, and as she pulls it out with a horrified look on her face, he jumps out with a camera to take a photo, if only so that every photo in the yearbook wouldn't be staged and posed. As he leaves, Jimmy boasts about how great a prankster he is, while Cassidy pretends her water bottle fell. She absolutely knocks it over, and she uses that distraction to tie his shoes together, causing him to fall into the pool when he moves. After we break for the theme song, we come back to Tamira practicing a conversation she hopes to have with Max, in which she gives him a cassette tape of a friend's band, for which she wrote one of the song's lyrics. Well, at first she pretends he responds with, "You're really cool, Tamira. Want to be my girlfriend?" Self-doubt soon takes over. And then, of course, because she's doing this in public, Max spies her and comes over to ask who she's talking to. She does give him the tape, but in a much more awkward fashion than she probably hoped. He does say he'll listen to it, though. We then head to one of the girls' bedrooms for a girls' night in, complete with the 4 Ps. Pajamas, pillows, popcorn, and prattling about boys. Cassidy starts out by drooling over Alex. We learn that the black girl from last episode's name is Denise. There's actually another one in this scene as a background extra, so the casting directors are growing, they're evolving. And Denise thinks Sean, baby Ryan Gosling, remember, is cute. But she is immediately shot down, so she qualifies her statement with, "in a retro lounge lizard kind of way." Somebody please trace how that statement has aged through Ryan Gosling's filmography. Also, as we might expect, nobody is into Jimmy. Tamira asks what they think of Max, just to get some feelers out. And of course they love him, calling him the bomb. Cassidy compares him to Johnny Depp, Keanu Reeves, and Scott Wolf all rolled into one. And while Denise says, "and about as hard to get," Atlanta girl Ashley chimes in with, "maybe for you, but Ashley Dupree can have any man she wants." Yes, she refers to herself in third person. And yes, the look on Tamira's face is heartbreaking. Denise ups the stakes by betting that Ashley can't get Max to ask her to that weekend's Disco Fever dance. Loser works in the cafeteria for a week. Tamira is confused as she thought Ashley already had a boyfriend back home. And Ashley responds, "Who said anything about a boyfriend? I'm not going to keep Max, sugar. I'm just going to teach Denise here a little lesson." Cassidy teases that if Ashley wins, she wants her to find out where Max's other tattoo is, aside from the one on his right arm. And Tamira pretends to be amused, but definitely still looks perturbed. Cut to Jimmy entering his bedroom and doing a belly flop onto his bed, only to find out that balloons have been hidden under the covers, an eerily similar prank to the whoopee sheet one he described to Cassidy earlier. Looks like a prank war might be on. He retaliates, and then so does she, by replacing his towel with a frilly nightgown while he's in the shower. He gets her back in the classroom with a whoopee cushion that makes a cow noise. And at this point, I just want to know where they're getting all these supplies if they're stuck on board. We cut to the coffee house lounge on the ship, where Tamira sits down with Sean and winds up spilling the whole Max and Ashley story to him, including the fact that she's crushing on Max too. There has been no evidence thus far that they are close enough friends for a conversation like this, but alrighty then. Cassidy comes to the cafeteria for lunch with Alex and Denise, and before she sits down, examines the table, chair, tray, everything, for potential pranking from Jimmy, while the other two look at her like she's nuts. There was apparently one place she didn't check. Her backpack light's on fire, and when it's put out, she gets soaked. Sean comes into Jimmy's room to say hello, and Jimmy jumps out of the closet, picks him up, and spins him around while cackling. He asks if Cassidy sent Sean, growing more paranoid by the second, while I feel my secondhand embarrassment I mentioned starting to make its presence known too. Cassidy and Jimmy meet on the pool deck at night with no one else around, both in camo gear. Cassidy proposes that instead of continuing to prank each other, they should team up to bring chaos to the rest of the ship, and Jimmy loves the idea. Dun dun dun. We cut to Sean finding Max and telling him all about Ashley and Denise's bet. But apparently he's doing so because Ashley is already telling the whole school Max said yes, and Sean wants to know if it's true. Max seems to know nothing about it, but is clearly forming a scheme in his head when Ashley comes to sit with him. Sean has given them their space at this point. It doesn't start off well for Ashley. She says, "I'm giving you a chance to get to know the marvel of nature that is me." To which Max responds, "I'll pass." He does agree to go to the dance with her, perhaps a little half-heartedly, as he says, "If you'll stop talking, I'll go." But he won't pick her up from her room, he wants to meet her there. And then he laughs to himself as she leaves. So I guess we'll find out what the grand master plan is. Cassidy and Jimmy put their school-wide pranking into effect. When Ashley's primping for the dance, instead of hairspray, she winds up using spray starch, which keeps her hair stuck in a giant bouffant. As Denise blow-dries her hair, it gets covered in a white powdery substance. And as Alex takes a shower, the water turns blue and starts dyeing his entire body, including his face. Of course, they all know who's responsible, and Alex and Denise come to confront the duo, and obviously Tony is there to capture the images. Once Ashley has fixed her hair, Tamira joins her in her room to watch her finish getting ready. Tamira fishes a little, asking if once Ashley wins the bet, she'll spend the night dancing with other guys, and is let down when Ashley says she plans to enjoy her catch before throwing him back, to the name of 2 dances, some punch, and a stroll on deck for some fresh air. Tamira very much does not like the idea of them getting some private time, made even worse by Ashley telling her not to wait up, as she plans to be very late. Jimmy's blazer and Cassidy's toothpaste are both tampered with in the evening, but we don't know by whom, as we can only see black gloves. Tamira is standing on the ship's deck at nighttime, staring off at the ocean, when Max comes up to her holding the cassette she gave him, startling her and saying, "These guys aren't bad," and even complimenting the lyrics she wrote. Wait a minute, something's off here. "Aren't you supposed to be at the dance with Ashley?" Tamira asks, to which Max smiles and responds, "Yeah, supposed to be." We cut to the dance and see Ashley making her way through the crowd of students, obviously looking for Max. Jimmy shows up in a shrunken blazer, and Sean's suit is a spectacle to behold. The ruffles on his shirt, I cannot. Cassidy starts making fun of Jimmy, only to reveal her green-dyed teeth, which the entire student body takes notice of and obviously laughs at, to her mortification. Denise and Alex out themselves as the new pranksters. Alex is still blue, having either embraced it or just not had enough time to actually get clean. And of course, Tony is there to take a picture. Afro wig, magenta silk shirt, and all. Back to Max and Tamira, who are still on deck, and she's showing him the constellations and planets. They see a shooting star and, wouldn't you know it, get a little flirty. The next day, Ashley is serving lunch in the cafeteria, given that Max never showed up to the dance, and Max is next up in line. He tells her to leave him out of her bets next time, and all she can do is glare. Denise follows and naturally milks her win for all it's worth, even giving Ashley a hairnet, which Tony then photographs. Okay, so I needn't have worried about the secondhand embarrassment of it all. These pranks were a lot tamer than I was expecting. I do feel a little bad for Ashley after Max stood her up entirely, but also understand why he didn't want to be a prop in her game. Let's see how long it takes for Tamira to get up the courage to take a step forward with Max, or if they're stuck in this will they won't they pattern. I'm also excited for the students to get off the boat. I like the show better when they're exploring new places. So don't change that channel. We'll be right back on Teeny Bopper TV Breakdown.